There's very little maintenance that's required on Scorpyd crossbows, but the strings and cables are the main thing that you need to concentrate on. We use scorpion venom. It's a polymeric fluid, and we prefer this over wax. It doesn't collect dust as much, and it penetrates the strings and cables really well. Where you want to use it is on your strings on the exposed portion. Put a little bit on, rub it in. Put it on your cables, both cables on either side of the barrel. Rub it into the cables. And most importantly, on the center serving. Most crossbow manufacturers require that you use rail lube on their crossbows. And you do not have to do that on Scorpyd. So long as you use the fluid on the center serving where it contacts the barrel, you don't have to put rail lube on. We use a proprietary coating on the barrel. It's very, very slick. Plus we use type 3 mil-spec anodize, which itself is pretty slick. So you want to do that probably every 100, 150 shots, at least twice a year if you don't shoot the bow very often, just to make sure that the strings and cables don't dry out. But the reason for the lube here in the center, again, it gives you a little bit more lubricity on the barrel. The cables here, you want those lubricated for where they go through the cable slide. Another maintenance item that you may run into occasionally is you might hear a little bit of a squeaking when you're cocking the bow. And there's a couple things that might be. It could be with the cable slide, or it could actually be with the axles and the limbs. And we recommend, again, the scorpion venom. This is the cam and serving lube. Take it off, and this is actually with a dropper, where the other one was with a sponge applicator. And on the top of the axle, put a little bit of fluid there on both. Flip the bow over, do it on the other side. You can also put just a drop or two down in between the limb and the cam bearing. Same thing goes with the cable slide. You can tip the bow up on its side and put a couple drops in there, and that should alleviate any of the squeaking. Other than that, there's not a lot of maintenance to do with your crossbow. Just make sure that if you do get it wet, you're out hunting in moisture or anything, dry it off. But other than that, just enjoy it. From time to time, your arrow retainer might lose its memory, which means that the arrow retainer is not pressing down hard enough on the arrow. And it's very easy to fix that. What you do is you take either a heat gun or a hair dryer. The heat gun you'll want on a medium setting, like around 6. The hair dryer you want on high. What you do is you'll turn the heat gun or hair dryer on, and you'll want to be mainly putting the heat on this area right here, which is the angled part right where it comes in front of the scope rail. You'll put the heat on there for about 30 seconds. Then, with your other hand, reach forward and press down on the arrow retainer until the arrow retainer touches the barrel. You'll want to continue keeping heat on there for about another 30 seconds. Then, after that time passes, you'll take the heat away and continue holding down for another 30 seconds. What that's going to do is reset the memory of the arrow retainer. Once you release it, you'll want to slide an arrow in, make sure that you have proper arrow contact and arrow pressure. If you don't have quite enough, just repeat the procedure. There's some certain things that we don't want you to do with the crossbows. There's a lot of people that want to tinker with things to think that they're going to make them a little bit better. We really don't want you to do that. The bows are tuned and timed here at Scorpyd. They're properly set up. Usually the only time you're going to run into problems if you start changing things or taking things apart yourself. Cables. We time the bows here at Scorpyd. The worst thing you can do is try to retime the bow if you don't know what you're doing, and by taking even a half a twist or a twist out of a cable, you can ruin the integrity of it. So leave the cables alone. The string is very easy to replace without a bow press, and the string is actually less critical than the cables when it comes to timing and everything. The timing is done by the cables, not the string. So changing the string is not going to affect your timing at all, so you don't have to worry about that. Another thing, Scorpyd crossbows are not meant to be taken apart until the strings and cables have been taken off by a bow press. Do not attempt to loosen the limb bolts while the bow is under pressure. Again, I repeat, do not loosen the bolts that are in the limbs while the bow is under pressure. Also, the cable slide. Leave the cable slide in there. It's there for a reason. It helps lengthen the life of the cables, and it's critical that it's in there, and it's critical that it's in the right way. If the cable slide is put in there improperly, your cables are going to bind. When it's in properly, there's just a slight contact between the cables. If it's in improperly, they are actually going to cross over and bind.